Hello. I'm laughing because the voice recorder app will, if you're familiar, name the recording like according to its location. And I was just very surprised to see what the title. Ebenezer Church of God. I guess I'm near a church. I'm not even sure, but when I see Ebenezer, and by the way, it's 4:41 on the clock, and the last transmission I haven't even posted yet was 1:44 on the clock when I started. So mirroring numbers, mirroring energy, something about that. The word mirror. I'm also seeing the word tarnish. So, and my right palm just lit up. We'll get into that. Right, like when something's tarnished, you can use, let's say, like silver polish cleaner and polish it up. So it feels like, yeah, like there's a polishing going on. As I was closing out the last transmission a few hours ago, I kept getting more messages, like after I closed the transmission, and I was going to open it back up, and then I decided, no, I'm just going to sit with it for a little bit and start another one. So this may be connected to the previous, excuse me. Okay, so butterflies were coming through a lot in that transmission, and then I kept feeling a black butterfly, like after I closed the transmission. I was just like feeling a black butterfly. And then I came upstairs. I'm staying with my mom right now for a few weeks. And I looked on her dresser and I noticed there was a black butterfly, and I don't remember seeing it before. So black butterflies. And when I was tuning in to see why that was coming through so strongly, I was shown Saturn transformation, and this has come through before. I'm also seeing Black Mirror. I know that's a show on Netflix, but Black Mirror Scrying. There's a book that I believe it was called Black Mirror Scrying. I don't remember who wrote it. It was a woman. And when I was first coming back online into scrying, that book I really liked. I don't think I read it like page per page, but I would like use bibliomancy or divinity and read sections. Anyway, a book could be significant for someone, but they say Saturn blessings are more like the phrase permanent fixtures coming through for some reason, but is supposed to be, when you like transmute, a moot point. There could be something in your life coming to like a moot point. You're just like, okay. Yeah. The Dharma path. Some of you may click into that phrase. And transmuting through Saturn, they say, is like, these quote karmic lessons or ancestral karma for a lot of us, and completing or continuing on that trajectory is supposed to, have much more long-lasting quote blessings, when you transmute and integrate the karma, for lack of a better word. I'm also seeing like a black box, or like if you look at like a phone or a TV or a laptop, like the black screen. Okay, so 4:44 on the timer. I was sitting with this this energy of okay. I know I'm pausing for longer than I planned, but so I got this flash the other night when I was closing my eyes of like jellyfish, and I kept hearing the phrase like biophotonic light. A little bit about biophotonic light, which refers to the ultra-weak light photons emitted by all living cells, a phenomenon studied in biophotonics, which explores light's interaction with living systems. These emissions, invisible to the naked eye, are believed to be crucial for fast, coherent cell communication with DNA and mitochondria, potentially acting as sources and receptors. Research suggests biophotons reflect cell health with variations indicating stress or disease, leading to applications for diagnostics, non-invasive imaging, and light-based therapies like photodynamic therapy or LLLT for conditions from cancer to brain disorders. Ultra weak light, WEAK, weak. Tiny particles, photons emitted from biological processes, thousands of times weaker than a firefly's glow, spanning ultraviolet to be visible infrared. Cellular origin, generated by metabolic reactions, especially in DNA, mitochondria, and neurotransmitters. Coherent signaling may form a laser-like network for rapid cell-to-cell information transfer, potentially explaining brain speed. It can indicate cell health, and it's an information carrier. Okay, so it's interesting this was coming through jellyfish, and I was also reminded of a transmission that I have done in the past year or so where I had sort of like an out-of-body experience with these illuminated jellyfish, bioluminescent jellyfish, through a cave. And yeah, some of you may come across that at some point, or you already have, but there's something coming through about what really caught my eye when I read invisible to the naked eye. So some of you may be able to perceive what a lot of others may say is invisible or not able to be seen. And some, it'll be different for everyone depending where you are with this. But yeah, you may be having these light spectrum. The cosmic color code is coming through. The cosmic color code, I started hearing that phrase years ago, and it comes through sometimes as these spectrums of light that not the regular light spectrum that the human eye can see. And when we start to open up to these cosmic color code frequencies, or celestial code frequencies, yeah. Some of you may have been born with this. Some of you may have had it and then it shut down and it's coming back online. Some of you may have never even experienced it, and all of a sudden you just start having these experiences. So the phrase aura recognition is also coming through. Interesting. I saw the sign. I'm hearing in my head. You may be seeing a lot of signs right now. Okay, so I had a dream recently that I teleported, and I was teleported somewhere that I did not mean to teleport there. It was in Costa Rica, and there were mosquitoes like everywhere, and these mosquitoes were like really like infesting in the energy. Infesting, is that the right word? They were, yeah, like they were just like bothering so many people. there was a lot more going on in that dream, but I'm not going to dive too much more deeply into that at the moment. It may kind of weave itself through. I also had a dream like a few nights before that where I was put up for this like secret NASA like mission. And it was so bizarre because it's like it was like set up for me to take this to take this NASA offering, although I had no previous training. Like, it made no sense logically, like why I was chosen for this, but in the dream I had to step into this role with NASA, but there was like unseen things going on, like unhidden or hidden things coming to light. And it reminds me of like occult obfuscation, and it's like I was seemingly, okay, this is like a bit convoluted, but it was almost like NASA was choosing me for like not what they thought was like to make them look good, but really like they thought that they were kind of effing me over, if you will. But little did they know that I actually did have the qualifications, like just not in a traditional way. So it's like very, very wild. And I wound up in South Dakota, I believe, which I've never been to South Dakota in this life anyway. So, but in the dream, I was with this woman, and she had like an estate, and this estate was just breathtakingly beautiful. And I remember she was driving me through all of these trees. And when I'm talking about myself in the dream, I'm taking this as like a collective energy. I was just like experiencing it, but it definitely feels collective. And she was showing me around her home and all of these beautiful trees on the estate. Everything was quite manicured, like the lawns, the trees. It was almost reminded me a little bit of when I went to Charleston. I think it was Charleston. But like grander and larger. And she had also worked with NASA and was like kind of, I guess, initiating me into this NASA experience. But like, I couldn't trust anyone or anything in the dream, you know, like everything was like pretty, like I said, like not what it seemed. And I don't remember exactly what this quote mission was, but a day or so later, I wrote it down and I honestly forgot about it. And I don't remember who it was to give them credit, but it was someone that popped up on my feed speaking about how NASA like had a blackout and they were tuning into the energy to bring through like why this could have happened. So it was like right after I had this dream about NASA, and then I Googled NASA blackout, and yeah, that really did happen. And I do have a transmission, I think called Blackout. So there could be messages in there for someone, but my head just started to like ache. Okay, now I'm like dream hopping right now. I've been having a lot of dreams come online the last few weeks. It's like I actually always dream and almost always remember my dreams. And then I went through this period recently where I wasn't really remembering my dreams. And I think I was just really needing like just deep sleep, deep rest. So if you're someone who has a lot of dreams and you like ever need a break, or you think you like lost your ability because, you know, maybe you have like a dip, I feel like it's actually you just regenerating. Also, if you're someone who like can't stop the dreams and you just need a break, like I'm hearing, just work on setting that intention. And there's other things that you can do, but you know, that won't be for everyone, but just for those of you. And then on the flip side of that, if you want to remember more of your dreams, there's also ways, of course, to work with that. And I'm not really being guided to go deep into that, but if someone like wants to talk more about that, I love talking about this. Just feel free to comment and I can like go deeper in another transmission. And I've definitely like mentioned things throughout this channel as well. Okay, so by channel I mean YouTube channel. So I'm hearing I saw the sign again. 15:15 on the timer. Okay, so very interesting. So this other dream that I had last night, I was speaking in the last transmission about parallel timelines and tapping into that. I was in this space, and this man, I don't know who he was, but he looked like an actor. It was like the boss in the show from the sitcom from the 90s, Just Shoot Me. I don't remember his real name, but he looked like him in the dream, and he was offering chiropractic services, or like he was like suggesting that I go to his chiropractor friends. And in the dream, I didn't have like enough money, and I kept saying like, oh, thank you, but like not right now. And he couldn't understand why, and I was trying to say like, I just don't have the funds at the moment, but like, and he was being so nice to me and so helpful and like just overall really, really great. And we were in this like very, like almost like a waiting room or like a massage therapy area. I don't even know where I was exactly. And his assistant, who apparently was named Susie, I never met her before, so someone could have a significant connection to the name Susie or the initials. She walked in, she was so nice, and she was like helping, doing her job. And this man who was being so nice to me turned around and was speaking to her like horribly. He was like mocking her lisp and just being terrible to her and like belittling her in front of everyone, like, and she just took it and like walked away, and I could tell she was like about to cry. And in the dream I was like, what? So I like marched over to go talk to her to like see what was really going on. And every time I tried to get to her in the dream, she like, there was an interruption or somebody was in the way, like I couldn't reach her. And I didn't really want to talk to the guy about it because I needed to talk to her for some reason, but like I just couldn't get to her. So yeah, this may feel like you've been trying and or maybe doing this on some level of like, speaking up for injustices or standing up for people. Like this may be something you've just like felt your whole life, or, it's kind of like when someone's getting bullied at school and you see someone who steps in to like stand up for them kind of energy. And that's really, really interesting because when I was recording this last transmission that I'm going to post soon, the one right before this, I saw one of those like cyber Tesla trucks, I think it's called. And I kept hearing like cyberbullying or like cyberspace. And I didn't say it because I paused and forgot, and it's coming back now. So yeah, that's like somehow connected. But it feels like maybe, like pushback, like maybe there's been, if you're trying to like start a business and help people this way, or just however it's expressing for you, it feels like there's been a lot of like distraction or setbacks. And it doesn't have to come through exactly as this example. This is just one of the examples coming through. I just got like a wave of nausea. Whew. A wave of nausea. 1912 on the timer. It made me think of the year 1912. 1912. I'm seeing the Titanic. 1912. I'm hearing the Civil War. Civil War is, God, my history knowledge is not great for like American history or like, yeah. So, but there is something about, I remember civil wars when there's war within the same state, I think, or country. I don't know. You can see my knowledge gaps coming through, but there is something about the energy of civil war. But what I'm getting is like something within the self, like an inner conflict coming to light. Conflict resolution. I've been talking for 20 minutes. I literally thought it's been like 3 minutes. Time could be really messing with you right now in a fun way, right? Father time, Saturn. I also wrote down jellyfish, biophotonic light, which I already spoke of, organized harmonics, molecular structure, home portal, grounding, receiving, but the word receding autocorrected. So I meant to say receiving. Emerald order Melchizedek's, feminine Melchizedek's as well. I put 2, T-O-O, and the Sophia, Christos Sophia. I just felt guided to read that. And my friend had out a dreidel. I never ever see dreidels. And so there were 2 of them. And the one I could not get to spin. And I was like, okay, I'm going to put this down. And I picked up the other one and I got it to spin on like the first try. And it landed on Gimel. I don't know much about, even though I am Jewish, but yeah, I don't know much about that. But I just felt guided to look up Gimel. And it's the 3rd letter of the Hebrew alphabet, symbolizing concepts like a camel, representing movement, sustenance, and carrying burdens, and also signifies giving, reward, and nourishment, often depicted as a rich man running to give charity to the poor. It carries the numerical value of 3 and is linked to ideas of growth, stability, and divine benevolence in Jewish mysticism and language, representing motion, benefit, and the resolution of opposites. Wow, that's so cool, because that's kind of what I was feeling with that Civil War energy, conflict resolution. I really didn't know that it said that. That's very cool. The camel. So you could be seeing camels, or maybe you will soon, or coming out of this like desert energy, like 40 nights, 40 days, the desert, dry spells. But of course, those of us who are tuned in to like understanding why we go through these quote desert phases is there's always something there for us to tap into, and that 3 energy reminds me also, of course, of the Empress and Tarot, which brings me to another dream. So I've been getting a lot of this like magnetic feminine energy coming through. Magnetic pull. Another dream I had the other night. So many dream connections. Actually, it was the teleportation dream where I teleported to, it was like Canada, but it was Costa Rica. And after when I got there, everything was really disorganized. And I was like, oh. And a lot of the people that were there, like the other volunteers, because I had volunteered before in Costa Rica, they were like at an artist residency, and in the stream, they were overwhelmed. And so I came and I was like, well, I'm here, I might as well help. So I started helping. And after that, I sat down, and it was like, I don't know, there's something, I was doing dishes, like cleaning up the counters. There's something about that, like cleansing, clearing, purification. And then I went and sat down, and I was just sitting. And I think there was a fire going, and I was just sitting, and this guy, I don't know who he was, he just sat down across from me, and he was like, and again, it was me in the dream, but this is representing this collective, whoever I'm tuned into as well. And he looked straight at me, and he was like, you are extremely magnetic. And I just looked at him. I don't think I said anything. And he was like, you don't even have to say anything. He was like, you can talk if you want to, but you don't even really need to talk, or something like that. Like, you can just sit here and like you say so much just by doing that, something like that. And then right after that, the whole next day, all these other collective readers were also talking about this increased magnetism. So I kind of like sat with it for a couple days. And it's coming through now. Right? 3, the Empress. Gimel, 3rd Hebrew letter. And receiving. Whew. I just heard the phrase in my head, feel the burn. I don't know why I just heard that. someone like working out again or wanting to work out again. Oh, and I was in another dream recently doing some sort of like high intensity martial arts of some sort, and I like loved it, and I was like, oh, this feels so great. So yeah, that could be relevant for someone. There's also like, when we think of like martial arts and mixed martial arts, any of these type of practices, it always comes back to like discipline. So there's that Saturn discipline energy again, energy. I feel like I'm like mumbling my words. When I said that, I was taken to marbles and mashed potatoes. I don't know why. I'm being shown like instant mashed potatoes for some reason. Like they're like flakes or something. And I don't really use instant, but okay. So basically what's coming through is like instant mashed potatoes, right? You make them very quickly and then you have mashed potatoes. Or you could go get potatoes and like make them from scratch. So there's something like, some people in this life have the option of doing things more instant, and then others take the time to do things with like love and care. And not that you can't make instant mashed potatoes with love and care. I mean, I'm sure you can, but the idea is like the process. There's something about like process oriented or taking the path of like the path from scratch, that's like the Saturn path. That's what's coming through. Also, I was double booked with flights. And in this dream, I was supposed to fly to Seattle, which I am actually flying to Seattle in this life in a few weeks. But it's like I had this flight and then someone like double booked my flight. I had like people working for me, which was interesting. Like I had like an assistant like doing my flights, and they like booked me on 2 flights. And I was like, how am I supposed to be on 2 flights? Like, what is happening? But like, I still did not have like financial like money in the dream. So I don't know how I was paying these people. It was very strange. I just remembered that part. Very interesting. So I feel like that's kind of showing me like, even if something isn't physically showing up yet, if the money isn't in your account, or like, it doesn't have to be money, but whatever it is, it's like you're still embodying some sort of energy that's like coming forth in the physical. I also never want to give like false hope, like I was just reading on someone's comments, like I watch all these different messages and like I've been waiting for years, and I did this one transmission, I believe I called it New Jupiter, and it's like a lot of us that feel like we've kind of been like on the sidelines of timelines. That just kind of flew out of my mouth. And to like the last transmission was talking about trusting your own timing, and now like of course, and also about like being your own inner authority, like redeveloping that masculine aspect within the self, which then eventually externalizes in however that will manifest for you, whether that's a love relationship, a union, whatever you want to call it, divine union, partnerships, etc., etc. And so, yeah, this is like, judgment and tarot, like being honest with yourself too. Like, are you holding yourself back in some way? I'm not saying that anyone here is. It's just these questions that we can ask. Maybe this is just like, for me, I really have felt like a lot of this sort of what looks like stagnation was just a part of my path. Like I signed up for it. It was part of my experience, and just embracing it the best I could and trying to see why I was given all this, why it looked like stagnation. But really, I've been like rebuilding myself from inside out, like my confidence and like having the ability to show up and overcoming like my fear of speaking and all these different things, So in a way I was like, it was a blessing looking back, because I I needed that time, you know, working with ancestral karma clearing, all these different things. Purging out like so many programs over, you know, cellular memory. And so, yeah, that's just the way it's come through. But like, again, of course, like that's why introspection and again, like radical honesty with the self, etc. In fact, a part of the reason why I did not want to do some of these types of transmissions is because I never do want to give like any type of false anything. But I know how much they've helped me, and I'm just really grateful. So the phrase higher ascension mechanics is coming through, and I remember the first time I heard that phrase, like my whole body just got so excited, and I had so many chills, and I didn't know what it was, but I didn't care. I just like needed to learn. And I generally, for some reason, always go deeper into that on Patreon. It's just the way it comes through, and I've just been honoring that. Anyway, that is coming through, so maybe someone here is like getting into that, or maybe want to. I'm hearing the word like Makai, and then, or name Makai, and then like Menachem or Menachem or something. I think it's a Hebrew name. A lot of Hebrews coming through. Jewish mysticism could be calling someone, and that doesn't mean you have to be born Jewish. It's just mysticism in general. Also, when I was drinking espresso the other day, I happened to look down and I saw like the shape of a soft pretzel. And then that day, I think I saw my friend and she brought up soft pretzels. So a lot of soft pretzels, that could be like a sign for someone, or maybe someone here likes soft pretzels. I don't know, that just came up. Also, in my dream the other night, another dream, a friend of mine was like the star of the dream, and I was like observing her. And she was on stage. Also, there was light language in the background of the dream. And so, yeah, light language could be coming online for someone. Or if you're already tuned into that, there could be an expansion in some way. I'm seeing like someone wiggle their fingers and their toes, or like feeling a lot of energy pulsating through their fingers and their toes. Wrists. Mind's eye. I'm seeing like just like buzzing. Initiation consciousness is another title of one of the overflows. Oh, I didn't mean to say that. Transmissions. There could be something in there for someone. I think I also wrote like an article on Substack. Initiation consciousness. Yeah, that's coming through. And my crown is tingling. Whew. Also, I was seeing yellow flowers in the last transmission at the end, and then my sister sent a photo like an hour later with these beautiful like yellow tulips in the center of the table. The word friendship is coming through as well. And my nose is like all of a sudden so clogged as I'm talking about this. So maybe someone here is dealing with like allergies or something of that nature. Clogged nose and running nose. For some reason, I just heard in my head, like, boys, 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 bills, bills, bills. I don't know why. Also, the initials, I think it was RCA. Also, arc, story arc. Elevation. The word elevation is coming through. Oh, when I was seeing H's, like I said in the last transmission, I was talking about Hestia, the goddess energy of hearth and home. I also was seeing Jacob's ladder. I don't know if that could be relevant for someone. Oh, I was talking about parallel reality dreams, and I mentioned one in the last transmission right before this one. And then I just remembered I had another one a few days ago where I was with a friend of mine, and oh my gosh, Canada. I said Canada by accident, but I forgot in the stream Canada came up. Okay, so that makes sense. So I was visiting my friend and her roommate, and in the dream, her roommate was a famous actress in this reality. I think her name is Amanda Seyfried. I have to look. Hold on. Yeah, okay, when I was hearing that voice in my head say, like, boys, 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 I don't know, it was actually from Mean Girls. And this girl, Amanda Seyfried, was in Mean Girls. Wow, these connections are coming through. Okay. But in the dream, this version of Amanda was not a famous actress. She was just my friend's roommate. Not just, but, like, whatever. And when I got to visit them, I was aware that I was dreaming to some extent, and that I was in a different, like a parallel reality, I guess is the way it's been coming through my dreams. And I wanted to know what city I was in, but I couldn't tell. It was like almost like being on a movie stage, and I was like, everything felt staged, and I was like, what city am I in? And I asked my friend, and she wouldn't tell me, but I kept feeling like I was in Canada for some reason. And in this dream, I was like the annoying friend. So when I have these parallel dreams, it's so interesting because I go in as this version of myself now, but like I'm playing a different role in these other realities. So like I don't always know what's going on. I have to like pick up on it, and like kind of like pretend to fit into this reality. It's wild. Maybe some of you have these experiences too. I'd love to hear about it. Okay, so I'm there, and in this version, I was like the quote annoying friend. Like I was visiting them, and I could tell like they didn't really want me to be there, and it was like kind of awkward. And I was like, oh, I should leave. Like why am I here? And I just realized this. I did this in the other parallel dream that I talk about in the last transmission. I like blurted out eventually like that I was visiting from a different reality, and that I told them who they both were in this other reality, and they were both just staring at me like, what are you talking about? We were eating really delicious food. Oh, this is the same dream as the NASA secret NASA dream. And the woman's name is Melissa, who showed me around that I mentioned earlier in South Dakota. I thought it was South Dakota. So the name Melissa could be relevant. And I swear I just clicked on like something and the person's name was Melissa. I don't know what I was watching, but there was a song in my mind for days, or a couple days. I don't know. I feel like I'm sounding dramatic when I say for days, but it felt like a good amount of time. Bryan Adams, Please Forgive Me. I Can't Stop Loving You. That song was just playing in my head, and I had not heard it recently. So there may be someone in your life who you feel like kind of owes you an apology in some way. In the last transmission, I kept feeling the Six of Cups in tarot, but I didn't say it for some reason, and now I'm saying it. Sixes could be coming through really strongly. Sixth house, you could be like having a change in routine, or like initiating a change in routine. Upgrading, that word upgrading has been coming through a lot recently. You may feel like I was talking about elevation. You may be going, some of you may have like visited somewhere where you were higher in elevation. I actually just did that, and I forgot. I went to the Poconos. So elevation sickness could be coming through for someone, but regardless, it does feel like there's an upgrade in elevation in the aura that's coming in. And another one. I heard that in my head, and as soon as I said that, I forgot I had written something down, and it said, "Here I go again." And I've been hearing the song "Here I Go Again" from Whitesnake on my own, walking down the whatever they say. That song's I've been hearing that song I think I've heard it like 4 times in the last few weeks. And whenever I hear that song, I know like I'm about to, I feel like I always hear that song when I know like I'm about to leave a location or like venture onto a solo endeavor or a solo trip or something, or I'm being guided to leave like a location, something like that. And I did keep hearing it right before I booked my ticket to leave, so I didn't know like where I was going yet. And even where I'm going next is like a very temporary situation, so like there's something about that coming through. Ebenezer Scrooge. Some of you could be feeling like there's like a Scrooge in your life, or maybe you feel like you're like Scrooge. I don't know. Or maybe someone just watched that movie. But what happens at the end of Scrooge? Doesn't he have like a huge heart that's just been hurt? You know, it's like Tafiti and Moana, same thing. There's this energy coming through very strongly. High heart activation. Thymus. Yeshua has been coming through in the weirdest ways. Christ consciousness. So there's been a lot of that floating around, and some of you may be going through this right now, or you're about to. Okay, also, I went through these phases where, like, things will just be breaking around me all the time, especially glass. It's not always glass, but it happens to often be glass. And whenever this happens, generally I feel like there's, like, a quantum shift happening. Quantum leap, shift, collective. I'm being shown, I just heard alpha, omega. I'm seeing, like, delta, Greek, the Greek alphabet. The Poconos. I was in the Poconos recently. For some reason, that's coming through again with the elevation. It was like the Poconos, but like where it meets upstate New York. So I was like, it was like almost like being in like 2 places at once. I don't know why that's coming through. Some of you could be practicing bilocation or having bilocation experiences or dreams. Bilocation. Concentration. Does anyone remember that? Concentration. Oh my God, what was that? Crack an egg on the head and the spider's crawling down. I don't know why that's coming through. It was like not a hand game, but like kind of, where you would like crack the egg on someone's head and then make like the spider motion. I don't know why that's coming through. That's so funny. Hand games. Oh my God, I used to love hand games. I haven't thought about those in ages. They're coming through too. And like old school games like Pac-Man, Tetris. Excuse me, Dr. Mario. All kinds of Mario. Sega. Seeing like all these Atari. Now I'm hearing the theme song to The Nanny. Like, this is like really nostalgic 90s stuff coming up. Okay, so I feel like I've wanted this glass nail filer for so long, and I had one, and it wasn't that great, to be honest. So then I finally was able to get a different one, and this one was like really great. And I was like, wow, this is so much better than the other one. I had it for like a few weeks, and then the other day I dropped it and it split in half. I still saved it. I might still be able to use it. I'm not sure. But there's something about like, I was talking in the last transmission about like entering into like welcome to your new reality was coming through. And then when the glass broke, I was shown that like we're switching timelines again or some, I don't know if it's switching, but it's like something's like solidifying. And the fact that it broke in two, I know there's like a lot of people talking about like split timelines right now. So it also feels like there's this integration of timelines and like a convergence. I'm getting a lot of like imagery with like split screen. Again, like parallel reality, right? Like there's something very strongly about this coming through. Every time I try to tap into I'm getting an energy, it's like the words are leaving my head, but I keep seeing something, so maybe it's just not the right time to talk about it. The butterfly effect is coming through. The Mandela effect, that's what I was trying to say, that's also coming through. Deja vu. Oh, did you hear that? There's just like a bang when I said deja vu. Deja vu has been coming through a lot lately. Oh, I was seeing trumpets a lot. The Judgment card in Tarot was also just talking about, and yeah, like horns, trumpets, angelic frequencies, ear tuning, refinement, retuning, attunement. Sixes are coming through strongly. The Lovers. Oh, I've been seeing poo, like Pooh, like Winnie the Pooh. Oh, okay, that's so funny. And I actually forgot I wrote down. So I saw poo on a license plate today, Pooh, but I'm going through my notes and I had written down like a few days ago, poo, Poo. And I kept, there was something that kept happening where like poo was like almost either like, I was in the car with my mom and like this like bird poo or something, like almost, or it wasn't even bird poo. I don't know. It was like a lot of poop somehow. It like almost hit her car, but it like just missed. And then like I almost stepped in poop, but I like just missed it. Like this was in a very short time period. Like I almost kept getting hit with poop somehow, but it was like just missing me and who I was with, if I was with someone. So yeah, it feels like this protection energy, that angelic protection, like you may feel like things are trying to be thrown at you, but it's like just missing you. And I was talking in the last transmission about like a series of unfortunate events that seemingly unfortunate, but are really like blessings in disguise, and this alignment coming in, like opportunity, alignment. What is it when like opportunity meets alignment and preparedness, something like that? Yeah, like preparation phase, integrating. You may be seeing eye symbolism. I've been seeing a lot of like Eye of Horus. Just eye symbolism. I found like in my old journal, like all these, I used to doodle eyes a lot. And someone who I haven't seen in a long time, I remember she looked at, she like saw something that I drew. I was gutted to send it to her at the time. And she said that the eye that I drew like reminded her of a portal. And it's interesting because right now I'm seeing what I call the home portal. I'm like in a dark room. And the portal's like coming down and transforming, like shape-shifting into different emanations. It first came through as this like blue energy, blue flame could be coming up. I believe I just did a blue flame transmission, so there could be something in there as well. But now it's like these violet lines that always look very similar to the I Ching. And this is before I even knew what the I Ching was, that I was seeing this. And then and I actually wrote an article about that as well on Substack, in case that interests anyone. I'm seeing sevens, 777. I'm being reminded of this ring that I had as a kid. I loved this ring. It was a white star sapphire, like asterism. That could be relevant for someone. I actually did a transmission, white star sapphire, I believe, a while back a lot of like previous transmissions are coming through. But it feels like some of you may have just walked away. Like there's something about choosing yourself. You may have somehow just like chosen yourself, and maybe that's something you haven't done before, or maybe you haven't. Maybe it's been like, again, the word series is coming through. Like maybe there's been a series of situations that have been continually actually like having you choose yourself over and over again, and not in like a way of like screwing anyone else over, but more so like, you know, leading by example and doing what's best for you, which ultimately ripples out and is best for everyone in the situation. That kind of energy is coming through. So it kind of feels like there's been like a series of these experiences, again, like a string of events, relationships, jobs, etc. And it's like some of you are like just about to step into this choice. Some of you have just made it. But it feels like there's I'm seeing like a chain break. Like it's like you've been going through these different links in the chain. You know, if you look at like a necklace or something, or like a chain link, it's like there's been these different links that you've been going through, and like the last one just broke. Dragonflies, you could be seeing dragonflies. To me, that's like a significant ancestral karmic pattern being broken. Congratulations. That's what I heard. I'm also seeing bunnies or rabbits. Alice in Wonderland. Oh, whales, rainbows. These are some things you could be seeing. Jezebel. So I kept seeing references to Jez or Jez, Jezz. And then right after I was seeing that, Jezebel spirits were coming through. And I listened to, who was it? Oh, I think it was Jalissa's messages. Some of you may know who she is. I don't know. But I like randomly clicked on something from her, and she was like, oh, Jezebel spirits are coming through. And it was crazy because I knew that something was trying to come through, but I didn't know what it was. But I kept seeing Jez. And I was like, what? In like the weirdest ways. And then Jezebel. If you know anything about Jezebel spirits, they say it's like a temptation, you know, trying to like stray you away from your center. And so, yeah, it does feel like a chain of these. It could be you and or someone you're connected to that maybe had this around them. It feels like maybe someone you're connected to, but it was like trying to get to you. Remember I was talking about the poop, like trying to be thrown at you, but then it's like dodged every time. So, but it could have still been like taking you like longer, you know, or at least feeling that way to like accomplish something. But it feels like that's just been transmuted in some way. 333 the timer. Jeez. And like it's like my throat and my nose in particular feel like they're being affected by this energy. But it may be different for you. I had a personal experience lately, and I left a stream of income that I had for a little while without a plan, very last minute. And right after, I had a dream that job was back in my life, and it was like stressful. I was stressed in the dream, and then all of a sudden I like walked away from it, and I elevated in the dream, and I was in the clouds, in a private plane. And it was like very common in this reality where people were like in these smaller planes and like hanging out in the clouds. Like people were like doing flips on the edge of the plane and just like frolicking somehow in the clouds through this plane. And yeah, it was just like so light, you know, this like elevation energy is coming through so strongly again. for some reason, I dream about the Kardashians like a lot, and I just I don't know why. But Kris Jenner was in my dream. I'm trying to remember what she was doing. She was doing like, I think she was in the plane, like trying to like tell me about something in particular connected to like being seen, and she was like very serious. She was also morphing into my friend's mom, who I haven't seen in years. I don't know why. Did you ever have dreams like that where like people will morph back and forth? Oh, my heart just started to ache. There could be like painful relationships that are being highlighted. Or maybe like someone you're connected to is going through some sort of like heartache, grief, grieving. I just felt that so deeply. Excuse me. Sometimes I think like, you know, maybe I could try and edit this stuff out, but like I don't, because it feels like it's part of the energy, you know, like these things happen and like I'm human and this happens. So like I'm not going to edit these things out, but I feel like someone said something to me about it once, and I was just like, well, you know, it's just what's happening. Ooh, the strength card also I'd written down. I was talking about seeing lions at the end of the last transmission, and then I forgot I had written down the strength card, which is ruled by Leo, 5th house energy, creativity, inner child stuff, being seen, visibility. A lot of that is coming forth. Dreamweaver. I'm hearing the song Dreamweaver in my head. Speaking of dreams, some of you may feel connected to dream weaving, if you know what that is. I remember finding this writing that someone created about dream weavers years ago, and for some reason I feel like it was connected to Mintanka. She like connected dream weaving to Mintanka. I don't know that for sure, but for some reason I'm being shown that because I was having these experiences, and I asked to be shown like what I was experiencing, and then that article just like came into my life like that day or something. And they say like an astral job, if you will, like some of us who still feel like we are also, my Nana's phone is ringing, so someone may be getting a call, an unexpected call, or like a doorbell ring or something. So dream weaving, they say like you could be like starting to remember, or maybe you always have, but maybe you're getting like clarification on some things of like your multidimensionality of like what you're doing in other realities, because like astral jobs are coming up, and they say like, you know, sometimes when we go to sleep and we astral travel or whatever it is, some of us are remembering it even when we're awake too, where we're having these other experiences. And if you ever have dreams that like feel zero connected to you, like you're just kind of observing, kind of like the one I was talking about where my friend was the star of the dream and I was just observing. It's like that movie, what is that movie called? One second. The BFG, Big Friendly Giant, how he like curates people's dreams. It's kind of like Dreamweaver, like you can essentially be like holding the space of someone else's dream. Not in like an invasive or intruding way, but like, yeah. So some of you may be coming into like memories of this. I'm being shown. You also may be like dreaming of yourself as like pure consciousness, or like the observer. You may be like tapping into that observer energy, or like observer. You know, they say like consciousness is like experiencing itself, the observer effect, the observed and the observer. It's like you may be really playing with that right now, or maybe you'll soon be stepping into that. And this came through pretty deep into the message. I think we're already like an hour in. So I feel like this was really meant to come through for those who like, you know, have that attention span. There's something about that. Like I remember when I started having dreams of, yeah, like just being pure consciousness and like observing. And then I started tapping into like different Akash records or the CDT plates. And I'd be like literally like shown like a movie screen would come up, and I'd be like watching these different events as if I was just, you know, pure energy observing. So one of the things that's really mainly coming through is like, I was having a lot of dreams about floods, and you know, whether we take that as like literal points in history, but also, I don't remember her full name, but she calls herself Dana the Alien is her like handle name. And she just posted something about how this like, what the flood or like Noah's Ark could like represent, like the animals being like instinctual, like our own instincts, and this flood of energy, like crashing, like a new consciousness wave coming in. So like a lot of people are like predicting doomsday stuff, but really it's just like this new wave of consciousness that we are about to have roll in, or it's rolling in. And those of us that are like on the front lines integrating this. And so, yeah, you may be tapping into these different points of reality and like receiving these memories, messages, inclinations, activations, etc. PowerPoint. I don't know why I just heard PowerPoint. Is someone here like creating a PowerPoint presentation? Maybe you'll be giving a PowerPoint in the near future, or if it's not actually a PowerPoint presentation, but there could be something about like presenting. You may be like asked to present somewhere. Maybe that's like a new income stream you'll be stepping into, or maybe you're already doing this and there will be like an expansion with that. Yeah, I feel like I just need to make like a lot of noises right now. Like, I don't know. It's like, speaking of like animal noises. All right, I think I'm going to call it here. Thank you so very much. I will be doing an overflow on Patreon if you feel called to that. In the description box below. Every once in a while, I'll just see these like seemingly random things, and I just saw, I feel like this came through before. Stay classy, San Diego, from Anchorman. Anchorman's going through. Yeah, this came through not that long ago. Maybe someone's like working on a like a sign-off line or an introduction to something. I just heard like a frequency pitch in my left ear, like a pretty high one. Or maybe it's like, I don't know, like an album cover or like a slogan. Like there's just something like that coming through. Rebrand. Is someone thinking about rebranding? I'm definitely trying to understand like, yeah, rebranding has been coming through. So in some way, a reorg, rebrand, something of that nature. Okay. Yeah. Thank you so much.